So let's get then into Champion Slate. We're already seeing the first bans coming down, I can tell you. Funnily enough, after seeing that lovely Twisted Fate drawing, Twisted Fate is our first ban for EG.
And the Nunu dropped away as well, the Jarvan getting kicked off, and you're just seeing the heavy favorites, a mix of the heavy favorites with the Zac being banned away from Wicked, as well as the respect bans for the champion. The Nunu dropped away here as well. So a mix of styles here. The Jarvan dropped away again. Evil Geniuses, their new jungler, likes playing more of the Lee Sin, Elise sort of style. So if those don't get dropped out, he gets his pick of the litter in his first game here. And I'm sure Fnatic's a great team, but if you get to take your very favorite jungler and bring that in, that's a good place to start.
We've seen Jace actually being banned out there by Fnatic, and that's what they used all the way back in week 1 to pick up a victory over Fnatic. Obviously, Froggen was running that one. Into the first pick, though, Elise locked in straight away from Wicked, and it's going to be interesting to figure out whether that Elise is actually going to go to Shaka in the jungle or whether it's going to be in Wicked in the top lane. Hell, it could even be with Froggen in the mid lane.
Sure, and there's like the 5% chance that it's support as well, but it's like 80-20, like 80% odds that it's on Shaka right here. What's interesting, though, is the blind-picked Kassadin. Now, that surprises me a little bit. The Shen, I get. Shen works in any sort of composition. It's a great early pick. You have great split-pushing power. Soaz will perform very well on that champion. It's the Kassadin that surprises me, though, that they think that no matter what Froggen picks, that Peck is going to have a good time of this matchup, which, you know, they're a great team, I believe them, but it's interesting, we don't normally see a blind pick that much.
No, certainly not. I mean, yeah, okay, we'll see, you know, Twisted Fate, often first pick if he gets through, but, you know, especially Kassadin is usually a last pick, if not, you know, at least after the mid laner has been already locked in. Right now, they're looking at a Malphite, again, something that Wicked has played, something that Froggen himself has played, and also taking that Thresh here for Crepo.
But it's made a really good lineup now here for Evil Geniuses. They've got hardcore engage, they've got good early game pressure with the, we assume, Elise jungle. Even if it's Elise top lane, she follows up on ganks incredibly well, has a lot of pressure in her lane and can shut down, can even outlane a Shen, believe it or not. So a lot of potential here. And honestly, like the Kassadin pick, as we talked about it being a weird pick, they're basically trying to shelter some of their other champions here and try to have them show up later, try to see what Evil Geniuses are actually picking up there, and then deal with it. For example, you rarely see Twitch played against Malphite because it's so hard to deal with that kind of champion here. So Fnatic going to make their own choices. And again, if they're making picks like this where they show up Sivir, for example, right, we don't see her very much.
Yeah.
And suddenly, oh, they've been trying to hide this champion. And the thing is, Spell Shield, if you have the reflex, you can stop an Unstoppable Force. You can stop an Elise Cocoon. Depending on the rest of the EG lineup, she might be totally safe.
Yeah, and this is the first time that we've seen Pushu and Yellow Star not playing either Sona or Thresh or
Varus and Caitlyn.
Varus and Caitlyn is the two that Pushu has played up until now. So this is a completely new bottom lane for this Fnatic team, which they've obviously been practicing here in the 2 days, I guess, because they came a day later than EG actually got on the plane here to Tenerife. So interested to see how that one goes down. What are EG going to finish off with here, though?
They've got a completely open palette right here. I want to get to Fnatic real quick, though, because they're hiding their last pick.
Yeah.
This team is so good at jumping into a fight with Tidal Wave and the Sivir Ultimate. There's something special here for their 5th pick that's going to make this composition really, really work, and it's going to be all kinds of interesting. Whoa. Evil Geniuses, though, I think that's Froggen mid-Twitch, if I'm not mistaken. And this is all kinds of special now because you've got incredible damage output for this composition. You don't have a lot of protection for this double AD carry, but you do have hardcore going in. And then while Fnatic are locked up, you've got Caitlyn and Twitch just belting out damage in the back lines. And I'm glad I, by the way, didn't answer your question of what do you think EG's going to go for.
Because I would have been wrong.
I would have been wrong. I would have, oh, you know, Caitlyn, Twitch, those last 2 champions. Don't worry about it, guys. I got this. So all kinds of fun. So yeah, I think it's a mid lane Twitch, it's a jungle Elise, it's a top lane Malphite. A lot of damage to hardcore engage. Fnatic, thing is, they're taking a long time here because they're like, well, wait, what else could we run here that works with this comp? They wanted initially Volibear. They said, yeah, Volibear, he goes in with the team, Tidal Wave, Kassadin, Shen, these all make sense as a run forward, deal with you sort of team composition, but they wanted to make sure for this whole minute that it was okay for them.
I'm just going to put something out there right now. What do you think about a possible Twitch in the jungle?
I've seen it. It's risky because he doesn't one-on-one very well. He doesn't run away from Volibear. He can't really counter jungle Volibear very well. His escape tools are low. Now, it is a possibility. it is a thing that you could see. His ganks are akin to Evelyn, where you come in when you're stealth, you can dodge wards, and you know, better than Evelyn, he actually has a slow, so he has some crowd control to throw into that lineup. And okay, there's some things you can pick up there, but generally speaking, I expect this to be very similar to what the lineup actually is. Ironically enough, Caitlyn might even be better in the mid lane just to abuse the range advantage that she would have if she matches up 1v1 against Kassadin. Either way, though, if they switch back or forth, it's a heavy late game team competition here for Evil Geniuses, propped up by a jungle Elise to hold on to the early game.
Yeah, and right now they did switch Caitlyn and Twitch around, so it is going to be Froggen holding Twitch in that mid lane here. So very, very interesting lineup here from EG. Something that we've not really seen them go for. Let's not forget that Peke has himself, against Evil Geniuses, played Caitlyn in the middle against Froggen and Nivea, I believe it was back then.
Jeez, so you've got all kinds of fun games over here in champion familiarity and the types of things these guys go for. And of course, we are here into the loading screen. The game was ready to go. You can see Yellow Pete, or YOLO Pete, as he asked me to call him today, on that Caitlyn here. And here's kind of the situation we are in. Again, it's Fnatic who are holding on to a top 3 spot right now. They are 1 game behind first place. If Gambit should falter and Fnatic win this game, they are in a tie for first place at the end of the day. That is a real possibility for these guys. Evil Geniuses now 15 out of 28 games into the split now, just past halfway. It's their time to boost back up. They've got a new player, get themselves into the top 5, top 6, move on up from there.
So here we go then, we're going to jump into game. It's Evil Geniuses versus Fnatic, sorry. I don't even know where SK came from in that one.
Last time.
SK on the brain or something like that after, obviously they lost their game to Meteor Makers earlier on. But let's talk about level 1 here, Freak. Can we expect anything? The danger of that Thresh Hook and the Nami bubbles are always going to be there.
The level 1 is pretty good, I would say, on both sides. There's a good mix of area effect crowd control and follow-up damage output. Sivir, one of the highest damage AD carries for level 1. The Boomerang Blade coming across everyone is really strong, and then her passive gaining move speed for damaging enemy champions got to be helpful as well. Peke's Kassadin's going to have a little bit of a harder time with this one, but if you lock someone up with the Soaz into the Cyanide knockback, things like that, which might happen here on Wicked, he's got the opportunity.
Walked away from that one, obviously had the view, and we see the stats for Kassadin. Picked 5 times so far in the summer split, an 80% win rate. Statistically very, very strong here. We'll see if that can continue for Fnatic this time around. Wicked waits in that brush. Fnatic have pushed through on towards that blue buff. They've put a ward down in the brush as well. And interesting thing as well is that we have seen the Doran shield start coming out of Kassadin to give him that extra protection against the AD carry effectively in that mid lane.
He knows no matter what lane he is in, unless he fights Malphite. Okay, so he knows that 2/3 of the lanes he could be in, he will be dealing with basic attack harass. And with the life regen that comes in from buying the Doran shield, with the single potion you get on top of it, it should be enough sustain for him to, in general, survive the encounter without getting poked down too hard. Once he gets a couple of levels, he'll be able to start last hitting with Null Sphere and whatnot. He actually did already learn Force Pulse at level 1, which will help him in a level 1 team fight, and in general might help him with some wave clear in the actual lane situation, but he will survive a little bit better than he would with like a Flask with this kind of opening.
Now we saw the statistic of Twitch, unsurprisingly almost. First time that we've seen him played here in the mid lane for the summer split here in Europe, as Froggen already taking a good chunk of damage from Pushu's Sivir.
This is a really good lane matchup for Fnatic. This is the ideal lane matchup dealing with Froggen's Twitch. They're going to 2v1 him. They actually managed to put Peke in a lane with Wicked, so he's going to be harassed much less than he would in any other of those matchups. So these are very, very strong lane assignments now, and it's gonna really hurt the late game scaling of this Twitch.
And this is the new man there briefly for Evil Geniuses. Shaka, of course, coming to replace Snoopin. Really being tested. He will be playing the next 2 games here for Evil Geniuses today and tomorrow at least. Maybe even the 3rd day as well, depending on how things go for them. Right now, Froggen actually going to be forced to recall here, early on at level 1 still.
There's no life regen, so unlike what Peke went for, where he's like, I might get 1v2, Doran shields and a health potion, he had the Doran's Blade opening here on Twitch, which, unless you can auto-attack things, not going to help you very much.
And we just saw a steal away from Yellowstar. Nicely done with the bubble and the damage that brings. Not the easiest of things to pull off. And this 2v1 lane, so far so good for Fnatic. We'll see if they decide to really put the pressure onto that one and go for that early first turret. And what a big one it'd be as well. It's
a really strong lane for pushing. As long as Pushu can actually get some mana, and the thing is, there's nothing really for him to actually block with his spell shield. Nothing that's easily telegraphed. I don't expect Froggen to W him very... I say that as he does it, but I wouldn't normally expect him to W all that much because it's a very easily telegraphed spell that you can spell shield to get free mana out of. So if Pushu has mana, he can push. If he runs out, it'll be a little bit harder.
Now we see XPK farming up underneath his turret. Shouldn't be missing too much of that one. Cyanide currently sniffing around that top lane. Wicked has already put a ward down in that tri-bush, so they're going to know if Cyanide does decide to come around. Cyanide, by the way, with Volibear so far in the summer split is 100% win ratio, won 2 games out of 2.
It's definitely going to be tough. Now, the other thing to point out, though, is the rest of these lane matchups, because you do have a really, really rough situation. Oh, in the mid lane, though.
Going in afterwards, Pushu there did get cocooned up. That may be the end of him here. They're trying to force in for that one. And there is the first blood for Shaka in his debut game here for Evil Geniuses. Great impact, and he picks up the kill.
Early game pressure was exactly what Evil Geniuses wanted out of their new jungler, and they got it right here. If he can keep these kind of moves going, and note that just even beyond the 600 gold you get from a first blood, they've actually gone well beyond that, and Shaka's looking for another kill.
Cyanide waiting here in the tri-bush. He's going to walk straight in. Cyanide saw that one coming. There are 2 men versus 3 as the hook will land, but he's underneath the turret, and Crepo didn't want to go in there and risk what they've already built up.
That was a good read by Cyanide to realize that the minion wave got pushed down to Soaz's turret. They saw Shaker nearby and said he could come down to the bottom lane, so Cyanide waited in the brush to watch for a jungle gank, and that was enough to scare the opponents away. So very good read right there, managing to not get dived again. But again, you've got a 1,000 gold lead for EG. 400 of that is from minion kills, 600 of that's from the first blood itself.
Froggen here actually coming up for a gank on this top lane. Peke is right now level 5, so doesn't have Rift Walk available. They're going to go in there. Where's the slow out of Froggen? He's already down, actually, and he's going to try and push through for this one. He's going to be taking a lot of damage under the turret, and he's going to go down. Peke ticking from the poison. It's not going to be enough to kill him, though, as Yellowstar comes in for the last second heal.
I can't believe that just happened. Such a close fight right there. Peke managing to get away from Wicked in time to not take any more damage right there. You can hopefully hear the crowd behind us cheering for Peke, chanting his name, the home crowd hero here. A great move to be made, and a Kassadin with early kills is fearsome.
Yeah, and we've seen that time and time again with the Kassadin. You know, if you give him the advantage early on, he's going to come and haunt you later on in the game. And certainly someone like Peke running teleport this time around, that fits into Peke's style perfectly well. And we've seen him time after time getting good split push going, always coming up big with that one. And we can see that Shen only 8 CS right now, which is exactly the same as Nami as support player at this stage.
Yeah, he got completely crushed in this lane overall. I said that Fnatic's lane setup was better for them, though the fact that Soa's having such a rough time of this might be not actually true at that point. But the thing is, though, you've given Peke a decent lane, and that is probably worth it. Shen, in general, will perform fine without gold. And sure, it sucks to be Soaz right here. He's got a really rough lane to fight against, and Shaker's shown up a few times. But you do have significantly fewer minion kills here on Froggen than you do on, for example, Peke, who has a decent lane right there, and not holding a Kassadin down helps that team a lot.
So let's have a look at the two AD carries. It sounds almost sad, strange to say that with the twitch in there as well, but 62 for Caitlyn to the 53 of Sivir. So despite having that 2-on-1 there in the middle, Caitlyn still having the better time of things in that bottom lane in that 2v1 encounter, and really holding things out nicely there as the ace in the hole through onto Soaz. Obviously not enough to kill him there, but certainly enough to do a lot of damage as we see a pink wall. Meanwhile, Wicked on this top lane, he's taking a lot of damage. The ball not quite landing onto him though, and he'll be able to walk off.
Nice attempt right there. They did get some damage output, but the thing to remember is there's really a better lane matchup here in this bottom side. That turret, it's going to be going down right here, just the 2v1, never a lot of help from Cyanide. While Shocker did show up in the mid lane and got that first blood, we didn't see a lot from Cyanide. He decided to go steal the blue buff. That was his sort of one big move so far in this game, but otherwise, he's been very unsuccessful in finding ganks or finding things to do for his team. So Shocker's had a very big impact, but Wicked, he's in trouble.
Yeah, actually going to get silenced up here. Does, of course, have Unstoppable Force available as he goes in on towards Yellow Star. One bubble could be the death of him as he flashes away from it, though. Stays alive.
Absolutely great play by Wicked, making sure that not only did he use the Unstoppable Force to escape, but also land crowd control. Very, very important. And of course now, when you see 3 people in the top lane, Evil Geniuses know that they have the numbers advantage. A 4v2 if they wanted it to take down Dragon.
Yeah, that Dragon is going to be there. There's nothing that Fnatic can do about this one. In fact, I don't think Fnatic even have a clue that that one was going on right there. And that leaves us with an EG lead, and a very healthy lead at that. 2,600 gold currently. Shaka, though, is trying to get that blue buff as well.
So here's the interesting situation now. So actually that's good because now both blues have been swapped around. EG have actually equalized that, like, neutral buff disadvantage. They've still got a turret lead, they've still got a dragon lead. They're winning by every metric you can really think about right here. So now it says, okay, Fnatic, you've got to play the late game situation better. You've got to get yourselves into this good mid to late game situation where you can start running with your teleports, hope that somehow Peke can deal with Wicked 1v1, because both these teams do have teleports at this point, and a tanky Malphite is hard to harass down by a Kassadin.
And we see that Peke actually putting good pressure onto Wicked. He's basically trying to bait him in here because both Crepo and Yellow Pete have come up for this one. Not sure that Peke saw that one. He's going to get hooked in for this one. Gets flayed back as he rift walks back under the turret. Ace in the hole comes through. Still alive, but Crepo going to thrash him down. And that will be EG regaining the kill lead.
That was an incredible move right there. They sacrificed a lot of time at the bottom lane for the risk, the chance to take down this kill in the top lane and get control over it. Cyanide is making a beeline to that top lane to try to hold the turret alive, but it might not happen.
There's a teleport from Wicked as well down towards that bottom lane as Shaka and Froggen put down a good amount of damage onto this middle outer turret, but you can see that they're not feeling too confident to stick around for things. Cyanide trying to get in there for this one, but he needs to be careful as well that he doesn't get hooked out as Yellow Star puts a wall on top of Shaka. As Cyanide actually throwing Yellow Pete into this one. We are going to see Kassadin teleport into that top lane, but not really working out as intended for them.
And Crepo with a great lantern. They're making that one get away. It was a nice attempt there by Fnatic. Cyanide got the flip. They thought the teleport wouldn't matter. They'd do enough damage. Did not happen for them there. Good support play to turn those things around. Right now, everything is going EG's way. I talked about how the fact that they let that bottom lane sit alone for a while and stacked 3 guys in the top lane. As soon as that kill went down, Wicked TP'd to the bottom, kept the turret alive, got all the minion farm, and so every move that EG's making, every teleport they spend, every time they send someone off their own lane, they still manage to recoup all the losses with the teleports, with lane movements, and never have a disadvantage.
So there is a Cocoon coming out, not quite landing on towards Yellow. So we'll actually bubble Froggen up here. There is the Nami wave as well. And Pushu might be able to grab the kill here. One more auto attack will do it. And he may even be able to go further. His ultimate is running. Peke is coming down. Are they going to go in? Shaka will repel away. And he should be safe from that one. Flash was actually available there for Pushu. Decided not to use it, as we are going to see Wicked coming from the side as well. He has Unstoppable Force available. He's probably going to use that to try and finish off this kill as Ace in the hole comes through. Oh, he was spell shielded. Pushu spell shielding the Unstoppable Force from Wicked has saved his life.
And that was such good coordination right there because Wicked knew the ultimate was coming in from Caitlyn, tried to time it to break that apart and couldn't quite make it happen. I mean, the fractions of a second that were required there by Pushu to guess, is he going to Unstoppable Force before or after the Caitlyn ultimate? And you have no time to react to that. You have to guess which one they're going to go for, and spell shielded it perfectly. Amazing, amazing play right there. Now, the kill they got as well in the mid lane, that is what the Fnatic comp wants to do. The Tidal Wave Sivir ultimate, the chase in from Kassadin. They can turn these engagements around so easily if they get the open field to run through.
Well, right now, Wicked, as EG and Wicked Of course, he is there as well. Have 4 men for this outer middle turret, and they're going to take this one down. There's nothing Fnatic can do about that one. That will be the 3rd turret of the game here for Evil Geniuses. All outer turrets are now gone, and Fnatic find their backs are against the wall on that front. They're currently at 3,000 gold behind, 4,000 gold behind, or there or thereabouts. I've already been called out for my math skills on Reddit once today, so we might as well keep that trend going. But Fnatic just going to push things out, and you know, they're not really in a position to be pushing too hard right now. They are very much split around the map.
So here's the interesting thing, because Fnatic needs some time to breathe. They need some time to get some items, catch back up into the game, and stop these things from happening. They need to create these lopsided engagements where they use the teleports, they use the catch potential of their champions, and use that to hold over in the mid game. Evil Geniuses, though, they're the team that's probably going to want to cement the advantage they have right now. They're ahead. They've got 3 turrets. The next dragon, by all rights, should be theirs. And they've got an Elise running around making plays. You can see they just pink warded the dragon because they know they want control, they want this zone, and they want to snowball ahead. What I'm trying to figure out, though, is what really happens in the very late game, when everyone gets to 5 or 6 items, because you have dual AD carry on one side, and that is good, to be fair. But when you run around with dual split push from Fnatic, with the Kassadin TP and the Shen, I don't know if EG can necessarily deal with that.
Well, we're going to find out. 14 minutes into this game. If our normal EG games are to go, anything to go by, we've still got a good 30 to, who knows, 40, 50, 60 minutes still to be played in this one. And with those AD carries, and that's the thing, you know, they're going to be getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Already that Blade of the Ruin King in there. Looks like the Infinity Edge is almost done for Yellow Pete as well, and that is dangerous stuff right there.
It's a breakpoint that EG just might wait for right here. They've got about 500 gold to go until that one is combined. They might use that. Thing is, they're going to have to fight for Dragon before it comes up, but even still, he'll be pretty high impact. None of the major items for Fnatic, except the Blade of the Ruin King, are done, so EG definitely a lot stronger right here.
5 seconds for Dragon. We can see there's a ward down just outside of the range of the paint. EG also got one by the blue buff as Wicked is just pushing up that lane himself, and that's going to mean Shaka and Yellow Pete can, just between the two of them, take that one away. No real problems coming in. Wicked taking decent amounts of damage here. Already got that Sunfire cape. He got a Negatron cloak as well. He's pretty tanky already from this one, and they realize there, Fnatic, that they can't do much about it. Froggen is actually coming as well. He was stealthed up. There's a pink ward actually over on the side there in the brush as well, but look at Peke. He's doing what Peke does at this stage, trying to get in there for the first turret.
But EG can dive. They've got a Malphite with an ultimate and a lot of durability. Sunfire cape already done, and it's a 5v4. The teleport will take some time for Peke. It's a decently long channel. They could go in and force this.
Well, they are going to be hammering away on that turret. Shaka here getting taunted up, which causes him to take that turret hit, but really nothing more from that one. And EG decide we're not going to get an opportunity here. We are going to be walking away from things. They've got a 5,000 gold lead, 15.5 minutes into this one. That's a lot of gold at this stage.
It really is, and you see that in the items that manifest out or the gold by the individual champions. Compare the guys who were stuck in 1v2s, Twitch to Shen in the middle of your scoreboard right here. A 1,000 gold lead here for Froggen. I had thought that the 2v1 would be so good for Fnatic shutting down Twitch, but Froggen managed to survive and last hit on turret despite being in a rough lane. Didn't even lose his turret in the 2v1 either, whereas Soa's got completely denied out and is still trying to get together with his major items. The guys who are stuck in the 1v1 in the very, very top lane, 1,200 gold separates Wicked from Peke. That was a 1v1 the whole way through. A couple of gangs came in, sure, whatever, but again, you're seeing line by line a better individual score for each member of EG.
EG have also won out the ward war at this point. We can see there Crepo just taking down the one in the back of Baron, but on the top side and the bottom side they have got vision, so they pretty much have complete tabs on what Fnatic are doing, where they are at all times on both sides of the jungle now, which can't be underestimated if they're to catch someone, especially with something like Twitch on the map.
And this is what happens when you get an early gold lead, is you get to pretty much hedge all your bets. So the ward war, right, they have won it. You can see that there's not only a Ruby Sightstone and a Philosopher's Stone there for Crepo, but compared to the other side, the other support, Yellowstar, who doesn't have either of those upgrades, he's got just a regular Sightstone, and again, gold is going to give you that extra vision advantage. But also look at Wicked. He's going to be the man 1v1ing against Peke for most of the split push game, and the fact that he's been able to buy a Negatron cloak to lower the damage of Kassadin means that he'll actually win those engagements. So they've actually bought items to cement their advantage further with their early gold lead.
So we're basically just seeing a 3 or 4 minute stall there, because we're right back to that point again where Evil Geniuses went down to that bottom lane, see what opening they could carve there. Seems like they're going to go try and do the same again to this middle inner turret, which I think is a lot lower right now than what that bottom lane turret is. And well, we're still having Peke in this top lane. He does have his teleport available though, so he's going to be able to come back and join in any kind of fight that actually happens. You can see Froggen just waiting in the jungle. He's kind of playing the middleman right now to stop anyone curving around through the jungle and getting involved with things. But EG are pushing that inner turret. You can see they're half of its HP already gone.
And this is going to be the interesting thing there, because without Wicked around, it's going to be hard for them to dive the turret, but they can poke with double AD carry, so they can wear this turret down with Yellow Pete and Froggen. But an actual team fight, maybe it's coming.
Oh, they actually managed to grab in on towards Cyanide. There comes a taunt across them. We saw the Nami wave come out as well. Teleport coming in from Wicked now right into the middle of them as well. Will he decide to push in? He doesn't have unstoppable force, as Peke will now join in. Shaka going to go very, very low from this one. Flashes away from the bubble. Pushu was low, and in the end, no kills coming down from a crazy fight.
Absolutely mental battle right there. Just enough damage came out from Evil Geniuses to force back Fnatic. The hardcore engage despite a 5,000 gold deficit. That's what the Fnatic team wants to do, and it nearly worked right there. They nearly cut out the champions they wanted to. And this is kind of the thing with double AD carry, is Thresh can only save one of them. You can only save Froggen or Yellow Pete, so one of them's gonna get cut out by the wave, gonna get cut out by Volibear, and get isolated. And this is kind of interesting, because you're going to make a headway if you're Fnatic.
Well, things I'd expect will calm down a little bit here now, so you've just seen them heading off home. Wicked now got that Spirit Visage added in towards his Sunfire Cape from earlier. There's a Haunting Guise now picked up for Elise. Extra pickaxe added in for Froggen as well. And of course that Infinity Edge was done a little bit earlier on for Yellow Pete.
So the big power spikes are here for these guys. The junglers are tanky. Crapple, they're getting cut out.
Oh, he's going to get caught out. The bubble comes in as well, but do they have the damage to finish off here? Hook on towards Peke as he tries to get away from this one. Repel comes in. Peke in all kinds of trouble. There's the silence onto Shaka, which is actually going to save Peke's life with that one, but now EG have positioning on this middle turret.
Nice cue there by Pushu there. Lets him know exactly what those guys were. He could tell that got hit, but the problem is EG are strong enough. This turret is theirs. Peke did have home guard though, so he is going to be back in action very, very soon. And Soaz, of course, remember, has that global ultimate. Actually saved it, by the way. Hasn't used it in the last 2 fights. Good coordination there. Is getting some pressure down. So things like this can let Fnatic back into the game with the split push.
Blue buff is up. Cyanide is on top of it. There's a ward there. EG know that Fnatic are around. We see Yellow Star coming around the side. Another ward put over the top as Peke actually goes in towards Crepo there. Needs to be a little bit careful, but Crepo is low as we see the tidal wave come over the side. Soaz going to try and get the taunt in here as Shaka goes head to head with him. Cyanide going to dive into the middle. Here comes Pushu from the side. Crepo going to die. Wicked uses unstoppable force to take down Peke at the side of things as well. And now Soaz going to be forced to use that Stan United, but he's very low. Cyanide will drop as well. Yellow Pete taking the kill from Pushu. He's going to have to get away from this one completely as Wicked comes around the side as well. They're going to get the slow onto Pushu. They've got the damage for the kill. Yellow Pete will pick that one up. Fantastic fight, and there's the ace in the hole. Well, Yellow Star's too healthy.
He is too healthy, so you can knock hole in stars right there, but Evil Geniuses with the team fight win, and Peke decided he wanted to assassinate the back line, went for Crepo, did kill him without letting him use the box, but when you trade a mid laner for a support, that's risky. Wicked made the call to go and unstoppable force Peke, who had lost his flash in the last sort of harassing engage, had to burn that away, died before Soaz could ult him, and the thing is, almost stolen Peke, nice try right there. Might be able to actually chase this one out because there's not a lot of tools available for the rest of EG.
Yeah, Wicked's got no escape from this one. Yellow Pete is there as well, so now he's thinking Infinity Edge. Kind of scary here in that one. Silence is obviously not going to do anything to him too much, and in the end, Peke decides, you know, let's play this one safe and back away from that one. So, where do we see the next push coming in? Top lane. Now, minions pushed past the halfway point. That certainly could be an option coming in. It's a similar thing down in this bottom lane as well for EG. Peke, of course, is trying to push out the bottom himself.
And this is going to be the real test again for Evil Geniuses. They passed the last one where they kept control of Dragon. They managed to push down one of those second-tier turrets. Certainly it's much slower now. Second-tier turrets are easier to defend, and Fnatic are doing a pretty good job of holding them. But it's also worth noting that EG are also playing around the split push so well. Peke and Wicked have the same timer on their teleport. So EG are holding that one very, very well. And the thing is, Soaz, though he has this other teleport timer that no one can respond to, he's still not made headway. Evil Geniuses have put enough pressure on the map, on those turrets, to stop Soaz from getting a single turret on the board right now. They've kept him in check. And when EG can threaten things like Baron right here, or threaten secondary turrets in the top and bottom lane, you keep Fnatic on the defense.
And there is the Oracle pop for EG. 2 wards being taken down by Fnatic that were putting that same brush. There's one in the back of the Baron pit as well. Easy pickings for Crepo. Or for Shaco, may steal it away there in the last second. Either way, it's gone. And they put another one straight in there, yeah. And Crepo's like, I'm not going to spot that one, apparently. And he's going to be recalling himself back home. Meanwhile, Yellow Pete is going to be pushing this bottom lane out once again. So they want to make sure that they're pushing out these lanes constantly to keep that pressure on Fnatic.
And look at who's really getting the farm right here from Evil Geniuses. Is actually, they're splitting it up quite well, I would say. Wicked, of course, he's got the teleport. He's the one cleaning up the lane, so of course he has the highest minion kills at 196 and is continuing to be a gigantic tank going Frozen Heart next, going to make life difficult for Fnatic. But you've got a decently respectable minion score from Frog, and he's actually still outpacing Soaz, who has been a split pusher for Fnatic, that they're still able to get minion kills. Evil Geniuses are still able to get minion kills on a lot of high priority targets, and Froggen, even though he's still the least farm on his team, has a finished Blade of the Ruin King, is still getting closer to Infinity Edge. He's still effective despite being a little low farm for an AD carry.
So that top lane, Wicked is just not scared of pretty much anyone right now with those the Glacial Shroud, the Sunfire Cape, the Spirit Visage that I mentioned earlier on. Now we see wards cleared from the back of Baron Pit. And now Fnatic once again going to double ward, and they're going to lose both of them straight away from that one. Now it looks like with that push from Wicked going up there, they want to try and have the second inner turret of the game away from this one. Fnatic only have 3 men. They're going to be joined by a 4th. Kassadin does have the teleport as they pull Cyanide out. There's a lot of damage coming in. Box was put down as well as a tidal wave comes across. Here comes Peke. Crepe going to be taken out by Pushu. Yellow Star and Soaz both very, very low in the back of this one. But it is a 1-0 right now for Fnatic. But they need to be careful not to overextend from this one. Stan United coming across here. There is Xpeke coming around the side. Cyanide and Soaz going. Froggen is going to pick up one. Soaz is going to be in a lot of trouble as well. That's a double kill now coming down for Froggen. Xpeke going to try and run away from this one. They don't really need to chase as the ace in the hole goes through. Peke going low. He's not got much mana, but he's probably going to be able to escape from this. Just Rift walks over the top, and Fnatic, rather than pushing him for that inner turret, decide no silly mistake. EG, no silly mistakes at this point. Not messing anything up. Let's go home.
Home guard Kassadin is very hard to deal with, so they have to give him deference and say, yeah, we're a little bit low on health. Peke will be back in action soon. We've got to run away from this one. But I have to commend Evil Geniuses for their mid-fight coordination. They bursted on Cyanide. Cyanide got out. First kill went to Fnatic. It was a 5v4 with all the EG cooldowns blown, and they managed to kite around using Froggen and Yellow Pete to just chunk people from far away and get damage output onto Fnatic, take down Cyanide, take down a second member as well, and win the fight despite being 4v5. They're playing around Pete's Caitlyn incredibly well.
Right now, at 8,500 gold lead that EG have. He's going to clear them Baron out once again. Wicked actually up there on the top side. Besides, he's too tanky to even care about going back there with a lantern. He's going to stay on that side of the Baron pit. EG following suit as well. They're going to get some wards down of their own, pink one as well, to help clear things out. Fnatic a little bit cautious about this one, and rightly so, because unless that ward's pink, Froggen could always pop up on top of you.
And the thing is, it's a little bit risky if Froggen initiates. He doesn't have like an Orianna or a Kayle or a Shen to make that like Gorilla come in from behind dive work really well for him. So I expect Froggen to not flank that often with his passive, not with his passive, sorry, with his stealth, but The rest of EG, though, look at that. They can all get across the wall. Look at that move right there. All of them can get across, except for Wicked, who recalls back, and this thing will get melted so fast.
Yeah, that Baron already going to be down to less than half HP. Fnatic nowhere near that one as the teleport comes in from Wicked. Baron goes to Evil Geniuses. Fnatic, not even knowing it's happened as Cyanide, almost getting hit by both the Cocoon and the Hook. Almost being the key word there, though. They walk away from it, but now they've got to be careful about it with EG having that Baron.
And so Fnatic know the timer on this. They saw them right after Baron went down and have a good estimate of when that was. They even knew it was happening, but they couldn't run down fast enough, which is all kinds of tricky for these guys. So Evil Geniuses now clearly the ones in the lead. Now I've actually built a 10,000 gold lead. The Dragon is up. They thought about recalling, but decided we don't want to give any comeback Dragons. Let's not leave anything up on the table. They didn't lose any health while killing Dragon because of how much lifesteal they have, how good of a tank Wicked and Shacker both are, and said, all right, this is ours. We'll keep taking all the objectives. Their lanes are pushed out. Watch, they're even spending time at this bottom lane while the rest of the team is recalling to make sure no counter push is there. And they're going to group back up as Froggen gets back across the map with the new Infinity Edge and continue the siege.
Yeah, both of them having Infinity Edge right now is a very dangerous, a very scary prospect even for Fnatic right now, as we are going to see Pushu taking a lot of damage there. Actually use his Blade of the Ruin King there, and you see Wicked, he's like, I am very tanky, that turret does not even tickle me, just take it down. EG do exactly that, and that is the final turret outside of the base here from EG.
Yeah, that is just so good for them. Wicked with 246 armor right here, able to face tank turrets all he wants. And the siege is going to continue here. The hard engage, it exists for Fnatic. They can try to force a battle, but the problem is they are facing a Baron buff, so harass won't matter against these guys. And with double 80 carry, EG will probably get this turret in a couple of minion waves. There are so few options for Fnatic right here. Even a split push from someone like Soaz wouldn't even go through all that fast, and he needs to be part of the initial engage crew. He can't even ult into the fight, because then it'll be too late. He needs to get a good taunt on. Fnatic's going to be so hard for them.
See there, Soaz, who's supposed to be the big tanky man, along with Cyanide in this one, just getting stripped down there. As soon as he takes a little bit of damage, got that... got a Sunfire Cape, obviously, and the Warden's Mail, Locket of the Iron Solari on Cyanide as well. So we'll see if they'll be able to tank through the damage that EG are going to be posing to them. There's the 3 traps down as well from Yellow Pete to make sure that if they do decide to run at them, then they could be in trouble. And Soaz is going to come in. He gets pulled by the trap. He's going to be a dead man from this as the box goes down. Who's the next target? Wicked going to go in straight on towards Pushu. He's at the front of the fight. Can't do anything. And that's an inhibitor and an inhibitor surely here for EG.
It might even be enough to take down parts of the Nexus. They actually ping the Nexus turrets right here because they've got enough durability. They've got Baron buff regen. The whole team is here. It's on Peke, pretty much just on Peke to try to hold this base alive.
Well, EG are going to that top side. We've talked about the armor that Wicked has here. It's exactly what he needs in this scenario. Yellow Pete actually going to get in a lot of trouble from this one. Goods get hooked in from this, and they're focusing on towards Peke. He dies to Froggen. Are they going to go for any more? Froggen is right underneath that turret here as Cyanide will try and run himself away from that one, but they've lost the second inhibitor turret. They're going to lose a second inhibitor as well. Yellow's not even getting cocooned up from that one. Does land the bubble onto Shaka, but he shouldn't be too scared about that one. They can turn around. That Baron buff, of course, is still running. EG from the Baron taking 2 inhibs.
That was absolutely massive, as well as, of course, a big team fight win. 3 kills for nothing if I count it properly. Now, because the other 2 guys did respawn and Baron didn't quite top off EG between those fights, they do have to back out right here, despite the fact that theoretically they could have backdoored another inhibitor or taken down a Nexus turret. But with Soaz and Pushu rejoining the fight, it is enough to force them back and give Fnatic some breathing room. But the game plan for Fnatic still has not happened here. They've fallen very, very far behind. The split pushing has never really turned into much for these guys. Just gotten 1 turret kill so far. There's been no openings for these guys, for the Fnatic team, to get through and actually push forward onto the base. And when you've got a 7 turret kill deficit, as well as a Baron and about 4 Dragons down, the fact that you're only down 5 kills doesn't matter. There's too much gold on the map for EG. They're hard to get rid of, and you're seeing that time and again.
Well, when they all backed off there, they had all of them at least 2,000 gold. I think there was 3,000 on one, and that's resulted, you know, that runic bulwark in there. We've actually got the Last Whisper already finished here for Yellow Pete. We can see that Froggen is going the exact same way. He already got the pickaxe and that longsword as he hammers away at Cyanide. Half of his health gone there.
Yeah, and that is a Infinity Edge getting towards Last Whisper Twitch. That is how much damage that man deals to an underfarmed jungler right here. A lot of auras are here for Cyanide. He has Locket, and that's kind of nice for him, but no Aegis in the lineup. Even just Aegis, not even Runic Bulwark, but just Aegis for a little bit of extra armor would help these guys out a little bit, but they're gold starved. Every member is 2,000 gold off on their opponents, and it gives them each one extra item, and you're seeing that pay through. Push is gone.
Oh, they're going in towards Pushu. There is a tidal wave. It won't matter though, as Yellow Star goes very, very low. He's finished off by Shaka, and Evil Geniuses are all over Fnatic here. Xpeke tries to get away. He gets cocooned up. Will he escape? Rift walks off to relative safety here as he goes down to the poison of Twitch, and now Evil Geniuses gonna focus in onto the Nexus turrets. There's only Cyanide and Soaz left standing here for Fnatic. That won't be enough for them, and Evil Geniuses with the new man Shaka in the lineup, he not only gets first blood, but he helps Evil Geniuses secure the win against Fnatic.
Beautiful play by this team. You can see how happy they are right there. These guys are very excited. Gigantic smile on Shaka's face, and he knows he made this one happen. I mean, look at that. They are ecstatic right here. Gigantic smiles from these guys, and the team comp is so clever as well. A lot of great endgame potential with the double AD carry. Great team fight starting by running the Malphite there. With the teleport, you can stop split pushing, which of course Fnatic is known to do, and then you kind of put it all together with Shaka, the early game aggressive jungler. Give him Elise, the first pick in their champion select, and that carries them through for the win.
Very great game out of Evil Geniuses. Shaka with his first win out of one game, 100% so far. Shaka bringing the luck to this EG side. We're going to head over though to Demon and Jason to break down all the action from that last game.
Yes, thank you very much, Joe and Freakin'. Well, what another great game from Evil Geniuses this time around. It's not looking good for the Spanish fans because every time they're cheering someone, they tend to lose, apart from, of course, the amateur series. But SK Gaming with Ocelot, now Peke with Fnatic have both managed to lose their matches, and maybe that's going to quieten the fans a little. I hope not, because there's a lot of action still to come. Another 2 games to follow this one, but really a great performance there. Firstly, from Shaka, the new guy, to set in to Evil Geniuses, and more importantly, from Evil Geniuses, pulling out the double AD strat.
If you actually looked at them after the game, they were excited they won, but they also looked like they enjoyed the game because they were playing champions they really like to play. But yeah, I mean, the early gank out of him middle really worked out for him. The really aggressive play out of him is kind of really different to Snoopy. You have it's like polar opposites between each other. Where Snoopy likes the utility champions, likes to help out that way, but Shaka, I mean, on the Elise did very, very good job. I mean, he didn't really snowball from the first kill, but the threat of him being around the map was so dominating, not to mention Wicked. Holy crap, he out-farmed everyone in the game for like a good 30 minutes of that, or 25 minutes of that. Just ridiculous.
And he did the same, if you think, last week as well when he played Malphite. He actually seems to have suddenly picked up Malphite and playing really well with him. Let's go to the replay though, because it was, once the action had going, EG had a massive advantage in terms of gold, but still the team fights were very tight.
Yeah, I mean, they're very squishy having that, having the Twitch and having the Caitlyn, so they had to be very careful. But look at the replay on your screen, kind of walk you through it. It's about 25 minutes in. It's 6-5 in favor of Evil Geniuses, but just like you said, the gold lead heavily in favor of them. I'm going to pause right here because we're going to see the engage come out of Evil Geniuses, where Fnatic's also going to see the teleport coming onto the turret here, but Krepo's the first one to die. It's a 5-on-4 situation, and yet in the end, it didn't really matter too much. So we're going to go through this a little bit slowly here. So you see Cyanide, he gets hooked in. He gets dropped so low, and luckily for him, that passive keeps him alive for a little bit longer as you see him just, kind of pop away. Krepo gets caught, obviously, with the Nami wave. I'm going to pause right here as you see So as he comes in with the taunt. It was a very good taunt. Unfortunately for him, though, that Froggen and Yellow Pete were completely away from him. They were spread out. They were not being hit by it. And you're going to see Fnatic actually do some really good positioning here. As you see the Malphite ultimate coming in a second, and you see Pushu. He's not going to be hit by it. Speke even dodges it here. They go straight for Krepo. He dies. But the thing is, now they go back and forth. Cyanide's back in the fight because of the passive. Yellow Star gets blown up pretty quickly as he's backing away. And then Pushu, I mean, on the Severe, which we can talk about a little bit later, actually being very ballsy, trying to push it Xpeke. And we were looking at it from this point. I was thinking, oh, like, Evil Geniuses completely got this fight, but then they push in, they do a lot of damage, and then you see Fnatic end up backing away. You see Xpeke's going to come in from the side. He's going to go onto Wicked here, but not do anything to him because he's just so strong. And then they're like, all right, we can turn here. Wicked gets taunted, Cyanide gets blown up, Soaz ends up going down, and then Xpeke, obviously they weren't able to chase him down, and they were able to escape. But in the end, it was a 1-for-2, and it kind of shows I guess the team fight of Evil Genius. We talked about them being one of the best team fighting teams in Europe. They kind of strayed away from that, or haven't been performing as well lately. But there, you just saw how well they played it. It wasn't the best trade in the world, but it could have gone way worse. And they really communicated exceptionally well, considering they have a new member on the team.
Yeah, and it was on a turret as well. They were fighting on the turret. They did have the big advantage, but obviously didn't really have much of a dive team. I've heard a lot of people saying that the focus of the fight wasn't really in the right places, which I guess could be argued as well.
Yeah, I mean, they want to kill the closest thing to them. Like, they have the damage for it. They saw Cyanide,
well,
they
with
tried to kill
carries, you can't just go deep in there, because you've got no ability power champion to just blow someone up.
And the thing is, Soa's landed multiple 3-4-man person taunts this game, and luckily for them, they didn't get taunted that time, because they were far enough back, and it's just, you see champion, kill champion. Obviously, they're not very bursty, but having 2 ADs, you know, you had an Infinity Edge on both of them, you had a Blade of the Rune King, you had enough damage to kill someone, and unfortunately for them, Cyanide was able to escape right in the beginning, even though he was living with, like, I think 100 or 200 health.
Yeah, he managed to get himself back in there, so great performance for Evil Geniuses. In terms of the league, that just blows everything wide open once again. You know, this is, we saw SK Gaming unfortunately losing to Meteor Maker, so they are now down the bottom, but EG are actually creeping their way back up the table.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about roster changes and how they've worked out for some teams. Actually, they pretty much worked out across the board for every team so far, and we'll see if it's going to continue. And I want to talk about Pusher just really quickly.
Well, it will be quickly.
Yeah, because, I mean, we never see Severe, and you got to give him credit. It was very exceptionally well done. And there was the gank in middle we saw. He actually blocked, because we looked at the replay, he blocked the Malphite ultimate and the Caitlyn ultimate at the same time.
Yeah, that was an interesting move. We're going to go over to Shox on the main stage, though. It is going to be Froggen with him.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Froggen. A lot of fans here as well. So tell me about that Twitch pick. What was the strategy behind it?
Básicamente, bueno, le está preguntando exactamente por qué han cogido Twitch, cuál es la estrategia detrás de ella, por qué lo ha cogido.
Basically, Kassadin is really good against AP champions, so we just decided to go double AD against it, and we basically didn't have a lot of magic damage, but it doesn't matter because he has to build damage.
Ha sido porque Kassadin es un campeón que va muy bien contra otros magos, así que simplemente han cogido un doble AD para así también poder ganar.
Is it maybe as well because Fnatic is known to split push? You thought if we throw in double AD there, they will have a hard time with that?
Está preguntando también que si eso también ha tenido algo que ver con el tema de que Fnatic es muy bueno haciendo split push, es decir, separándose para poder pushear las líneas. ¿Ha tenido algo que ver esos picks con ello?
No, that's not really a reason, because we would have picked like some assassins like Zed, Kha'Zix or something like that if we wanted to counter the split push. We just think it's a really strong team fight, and if it fits into the team, we're just going to run double AD because it's just really strong.
Realmente no ha sido esa la razón por la cual han cogido doble AD. De hecho, si hubiesen querido, digamos, hacer una contraestrategia a esa, que sería el split push, hubiesen cogido campeones como pueden ser Asesinos. Realmente han cogido eso para tener una teamfight muy buena, digamos, unas batallas muy grandes a etapas muy tardías de la partida. Así que esa ha sido la estrategia.
And of course, it was the first game with Shaker in the team, and we saw immediately he ganked mid, gave first blood. So what was their impressions and maybe the differences with Snoopy's playstyle?
Ahora también, sabiendo que ha habido un nuevo jungla, con la incorporación de este nuevo jungla, ¿cómo ha sido directamente la sensación jugar, digamos, con un jungla que es bastante nuevo, además no es muy conocido, y además, de hecho, esto, que Snoopy ya era un jungla muy, digamos, muy afianzado a ese equipo?
Right now, Shaker's laning phase jungling is probably one of the best, and that's why we decided to pick him up, because we lose a lot of early games and basically just get behind, and then we can't get back into the game. So with Shaker on the team, like 90% of the ganks he's trying to do is going to be successful, and he's just generally really strong. We lack a bit in mid and late game calls right now because Shaker is not as experienced as Snooper, so that's a trade-off.
Pues Froggen opina que en este caso ha ganado muchísimo con Shaker en lo que a early game se refiere, es decir, ahora tiene muy buena, o sea, muchísima fuerza, porque según él es uno de los junglas cuyo estilo de juego es de los mejores que puede haber en Europa para este tipo de situaciones. Sin embargo, han perdido bastante en lo que a late o mid game se refiere, que es el hecho de que en aquel momento Snoopy era el que hacía todas las llamadas o todas las direcciones, y es algo que es lo que tienen que empezar a mejorar ahora.
Finally, how are you enjoying Tenerife? Are you enjoying Spain? I see you've been enjoying the sun.
¿Te lo estás pasando bien en Tenerife? ¿Cómo, bueno, realmente eso, cómo te lo estás pasando? ¿Qué tienes que decir al público?
Yeah, I got a bit sunburned because I was too much at the pool, but I think it's really nice. Maybe a bit too hot, but also another thing, we have to celebrate Shaker's birthday tonight with probably getting a drink or something.
Realmente la respuesta ha sido que está pasando bastante calor, no se ha puesto tampoco muy moreno, pero bueno, es lo que hay.
Thank you very much. For you guys at home, it's time to keep you have to keep your tweets coming because we want to know, of course, which team do you think will have the biggest turnaround this weekend and why? Hit us up at LOL Esports, #LCS for your chance to win a Logitech